What if you could summit Everest in just days? No weeks of grueling acclimatization required. This May, 4 British climbers, including UK Veterans Minister Alistair Cairns, achieved something astonishing. They left London on the 16th, headed to Germany to inhale xenon gas to supercharge their body's adaptation to thin air, and stood atop the 8,849-meter summit just 5 days later. They were back home within 10 days. That's faster than some people get over a bad cold. Climbing Everest has always been a brutal battle against thin air. Think of it like this. Imagine the air around you right now. It's full of tiny, invisible oxygen molecules zipping around. When you take a normal breath, your lungs are like incredibly efficient vacuum cleaners, easily sucking in a good, big gulp of those oxygen molecules. There are tons of them packed together, so you get a full dose with every breath without even thinking about it. But go high up on a mountain like Everest. The air pressure up there is much, much lower. It's not that there's no oxygen, but it's like someone took all those oxygen molecules and spread them really, really far apart. So when your lungs try to take that same vacuum cleaner breath, they suck in mostly empty space and only a tiny fraction of the oxygen molecules they'd normally get. That's why it feels like breathing through a straw in a hurricane above 8,000 meters in the infamous death zone. Each desperate gulp delivers only a third as much oxygen as at sea level. Your lungs burn, your heart hammers in your chest, and simply tying your boots leaves you gasping for breath. This season alone, at least 14 climbers have perished on Everest and its neighboring peaks, including an Indian climber and a Filipino climber who tragically succumbed to hypoxia and exhaustion in that unforgiving zone. Without proper acclimatization, climbers face terrifying risks. These include acute mountain sickness, potentially fatal flooding of the lungs or brain, and a creeping mental fog that makes every decision a gamble with your life. Traditional expeditions typically spend 6 to 8 weeks rotating between base camp and higher camps. This is a grueling process, forcing the body to gradually pump up its red blood cell count and adapt to the punishing altitude. The dream of reaching Everest summit took root surprisingly late in the early 20th century. British surveyors first spotted Everest's sheer north face in the 1850s, but organized expeditions only truly began in the 1920s. George Mallory and Andrew Sandy Irvine famously vanished near the top in 1924, fueling a legendary mystery. Did they make it? Mallory supposedly replied, "Because it's there," when asked why he climbed Everest. Those tragic failures only sharpened determination. By 1953, Colonel John Hunt's 9th British expedition had meticulously learned from decades of reconnaissance. They refined routes, established camps, and improved oxygen systems. On May 29th, Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay set off before dawn from Camp 9. After surmounting the final ice cliff, later named the Hillary Step, they stood on the true summit at 11:30 a.m. Imagine the view. They planted flags, shared sweets, and radioed back their triumph. Their descent was kept quiet until they were safely near base camp. Their news reached London on Queen Elizabeth II's coronation morning, turning a mountaineering feat into a global celebration. Since Hillary and Tenzing's triumph, over 6,000 climbers have followed in their footsteps. But more than 300 lives have been lost, many frozen in place, becoming grim, permanent markers in the death zone. Speed and endurance records add even more drama and danger. In 1996, a sudden storm claimed 8 lives in a disaster immortalized by John Krakauer's Into Thin Air. Kilian Jornet set the mind-boggling no-oxygen speed record, 26 hours from base camp to summit. Meanwhile, Lakpa Gelu Sherpa, a true Everest legend, blitzed it with supplemental oxygen in an astonishing 8 hours, 10 minutes in 2003. That's faster than most people drive to the beach. Some climbers have endured harrowing ordeals. In 2023, Davis Brashears survived 2 terrifying nights near the summit by melting snow on a solar heater. Think about that for a second. Preparation for Everest is as extreme as the climb itself. Elite athletes sleep in hypoxic tents for weeks to boost red blood cell counts. They run endless miles to build endurance, lift weights for brutal strength, and drill in freezing wind tunnels to toughen up. Now, Xenon gas has entered the toolkit. Xenon is a colorless, odorless, and tasteless gas, often used as an anesthetic in medicine. But here, it works its magic in a different way. It appears to trigger protective responses in the body that reduce the effects of hypoxia, or oxygen deprivation. This lets climbers literally skip weeks of dangerous, traditional acclimatization rotations on the mountain itself. Guide Lucas Furtenbach reports that Xenon not only speeds acclimatization, but also cuts environmental impact by shortening base camp stays. This means fewer discarded oxygen bottles and less trash clogging the slopes. Yet Nepalese authorities are raising eyebrows, questioning its unregulated use, debating safety and fairness. Does breathing Xenon undermine the true spirit of mountaineering, or is it simply the next frontier in pushing human limits while crucially protecting fragile mountain ecosystems? It's a debate as steep as Everest itself. But here's a bigger question for all of us. If Everest can be conquered so quickly, if any goal can be fast-tracked, what are we missing? When everything happens at lightning speed, do we lose the invaluable lessons learned from struggle, the quiet satisfaction of patience, and the profound pride of hard-earned achievement? In a world where we increasingly expect instant gratification, perhaps the real summit isn't just the peak, but the grueling, transformative climb itself. Now you know, that's a fact you can keep. Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What should we break down next? Until our next session, class dismissed.